All right, we're live. Welcome back to About the Buckets, everyone. We have had quite the week leading up to the trade deadline. Maddie, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Definitely an active day. I think that I am not the only one that's going to say that the trade deadline should be like a federal holiday, um,
Yes,
just
yes.
like the first 2 days of March Madness. So, I mean, this
Yeah.
is one of my favorite days of the year. So,
I would be lying if I said that I did not plan my workday around the 3 p.m. Eastern deadline.
oh,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Like, what are you doing if you don't? I mean,
Yeah,
like
so,
yesterday, I was working like a dog. Today, not so much. Don't tell my
yep,
boss.
yep, yep. I do lots of pickups and deliveries in my truck for work, and I planned my first pickup for the day at I'm Mountain Time, so 1:30. So I was sitting in my truck at one, like out in front of the place, and just for a half hour, just you know making sure I got all the news. So
Yeah. That's
yeah,
awesome. And I know, we were talking a little bit about it back and forth, so I'm excited to get into it. Um, so, in terms of structure, though, just thought so we would talk a little bit about all the trades that happened before today. Obviously, the Kyrie one's a big one. We'll probably start there. Talk about the ones today, talk about the impact of them moving forward. Is there a shift in contenders? And I think that's about it because, I mean, we got a lot of trades to talk about.
yeah.
So,
So let's start with Kyrie Irving to the Dallas Mavericks. In exchange, well, Markieff Morris and Kyrie Irving in
yeah,
exchange for what was the total package? It was Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith. I believe it was a 2029 first round pick
yeah,
from
and
Dallas
two
who was
second
unprotected,
rounders.
and two second rounders.
Yeah.
So what's your knee jerk reaction to this trade?
Well, I mean, this is something that you've mentioned on the show. And well, I mean, we both have talked about that, Dallas is going to have to do something to try to appease Luca, right?
Yeah,
Because I mean, he doesn't have any help. Um, they trade Dorian Finney Smith, arguably their most versatile defender. Um, they trade Spencer Dinwiddie, but I mean, I think Kyrie is an upgrade in that regard. But I mean, you're trading two depth pieces, right, for one guy. So I
yeah.
mean, as a result, you're getting less deep. And just kind of looking at their roster, I mean, unless you're gonna have to have guys that have not been playing a major role play a major role, right?
Yeah.
And they're gonna have to exceed in it. I don't know if it's if you can rely heavily on guys like Jaden Hardy or Josh Green or
Yeah.
whatever. Um,
Which I do like Green lately. I mean I agree with you in that he's unproven.
yeah,
But man, he's looked good the last few weeks. So, even though as a Jazz fan, I'm secretly kind of hoping for the Mavericks to fail right
yeah,
now, is currently constructed. Um, I really like watching Josh Green play basketball. So,
yeah. Well, and that's the thing too. A lot of these guys they get written off so early
yep,
as one because I mean he was a one and done out of Arizona. I mean he's been in the league for what like 4 years, 3 years, four
yeah,
years or something, and he's like 22, 23. Like he's super young. Like
yep,
so some guys just take longer to develop. Hopefully um, he's finally starting to show what he can do. But I mean, as far as like the Kyrie Luca dynamic, what do you think of it?
I think it can work.
Okay.
Because so I think Luca being James Harden 2.0 is overblown, in my opinion. I get why people say that, just because typically we haven't seen guys play like that unless they kind of have to. But I've kind of been in the camp that Luca plays that way because it's the only way that the Mavericks can win games. Um, I also agree that it's not a good long-term model for how they should play. I don't think that people call it the heliocentric offense, right? I don't think that there's a very high ceiling with that, no matter who's at the center. Um, but the problem that the Mavericks have been facing is how poor their roster construction was. So, I mean, my counter to Luka has the ball too much. Luka doesn't pass enough. Luka doesn't do this. Is like, well, who else do you want to have the ball on that team? Because Spencer Dinwiddie really shouldn't be the secondary ball handler on a title contender. Yet he was, I mean, he was the tertiary ball handler on a Western Conference Finals team, and kind of had to move into the secondary role this year. So, I think Luka can adjust. I mean, he's played in Europe. Europe doesn't, the European teams, Euro style ball, they don't play like that. And he's been just fine playing with the Slovenian national team. Won an MVP with Real Madrid as an 18-year-old, and his team won the championship. So I don't think Luka has to play that way. I think he's been forced to play that way for the Mavericks to be a decent team.
Yeah, no, I think there's a difference, right? And that's what people don't focus on, the fact that like that team was, talking about James Harden and the Rockets, that team was built around James Harden.
Yeah.
This team is just as it is. Like it wasn't built for Luka to just do this, it's like you said, poor roster construction.
Yeah.
I mean, they were kind of limited with what they could do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they moved these pieces. They couldn't really do much more unless they move guys like Jaden Hardy or Josh Green, but I just don't think the market was there for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? They haven't shown enough.
Yeah, and, I don't even blame the Mavs front office so much in kind of this hole that they've gotten themselves into with the roster construction, because I think it was right before Luka's year. Correct me if I'm wrong here, if you know. I think Kristaps Porzingis got traded before Luka's rookie year. So I think they had Kristaps and then drafted Luka, or it was the year of. I can't remember, to be honest.
It might have been the year of.
Okay.
But I mean, I think no, it might have been
after.
Jeez, I don't know. I need to look that up now. Now I need to know.
So, but just
you know what year Luka was drafted?
I believe it was the 2017 draft or the 2018 draft.
Okay, let me look that up real quick.
I think it's the 2018 draft. But so anyways, the Mavs they took a gamble on Kristaps Porzingis, who, famously coming off of injury. New York Knicks Kristaps Porzingis was amazing before he tore his ACL. They're kind of betting on rehabbing him and getting him back to full strength.
When he was a rookie. It was the middle of the season.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Well, that perfectly illustrates my point then. They had to take on the Tim Hardaway Jr. contract, which was kind of terrible. But anyways, they gave up their picks. But my point being that I don't think anyone anticipated Luka to be as good as he was, as quick as he was, because it's not unprecedented. It is very rare. I've talked about this on the show before. So Luka made the first team All-NBA 3 out of his first 4 seasons. Jeez. And the last player to do that was Tim Duncan. And the player before that was Larry Bird. And the player before that was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So, So, how can you look at Luka and be like, yeah, that's Tim Duncan. That's Larry Bird. That's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, right?
Well, I could see in the moment too. Sorry, I'll let you continue. But in the moment at the time, them seeing Luka as a complementary piece to Kristaps, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think just the idea that was even if they are sure about Luka and they're like, this is our dude, we're going to be a title contender with Luka. How can you anticipate needing a championship roster around him in year 2? That is not common, usually people are planning for we need to be ready when Luka's 26 or when he's 27, right? I think that's the approach that most teams take because that's more typical. But the Mavs kind of got screwed by Luka being too good, too fast. And they don't have a full complement of picks. They haven't because of the Porzingis trade. And they had bad salary. They had the Davis Bertans contract. They had the Kristaps Porzingis contract, which turned out to be bad. The Tim Hardaway Jr. contract, which has been horrible since day one. But you don't know when you take that on that it's going to be as bad as it was, especially for your timing. it's really kind of funny that the Mavs' downfall, if they collapse after this season, their downfall will be that their star player was good too quickly. It sucks.
Yeah. No. Um yeah, I mean, just looking at this roster, man, like I just don't know. Like who are you taking them beating in a playoff series? Like I know it's super soon,
Yeah.
but
Well, of the top 4 seeds, I mean, the top 4 seeds will, I mean, probably be Phoenix, LA Clippers, Denver Nuggets, and, Grizzlies, probably. Like, maybe maybe if they get hot, they can beat the Grizzlies. Maybe.
yeah. And Luca, it would be Luca having like
Yeah.
career performance
I think
and
I think I could see them beating the Grizzlies.
okay.
But, man, I would not feel good about them going up against the Suns, Nuggets, or Clippers.
Well,
Or even the Warriors. Like, let's say the Warriors are able to get back up into the 4-5 range.
mhm.
I don't see that.
Yeah. No, I don't know.
It's like, who are they going to stop? Like, I'm sure their offense will be incredible, but how are they going to get any stops?
No, I mean, it's true. Who on their team, like looking at their roster, I mean, they don't really have
Yeah.
any guy that can stop someone now. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like it's a
Yeah.
lot of offensive minded or younger players
Yeah.
or
And
I mean,
I'm like one of the biggest Maxi Kleba fans in the world. Like I would love to have Maxi Kleba on my favorite team, but he's not good enough on defense to like anchor uh Kyrie Irving, Luca, and Christian Wood around him.
yeah. I thought he was good next to Finney Smith. You know, I thought that was
Yeah.
a pretty
Yeah. No, I mean, like I
but
said, I'm the biggest Maxi
by
Kleba fan
himself.
you'll find, but he's not like a centerpiece. He's a great complementary defender, but
Yeah.
he's not your centerpiece on defense. And he's not elevating a bunch of guys who aren't interested in playing defense.
No, absolutely. So
So-
should we get into because I mean, should we get into the net side of it and then start talking about the KD trade then too?
Well, I just want to make one quick note before we move on to the
Okay.
Nets. So, how do you feel if you're Christian Wood with this all goes down? Because you want your extension. So, first of all, the Mavs refuse to start you for the first half of the season, and then you want your extension. They're like, and then they try to trade you at the deadline after they make all these moves. Clearly, they don't think he's worth anything. However, he's been by far the second best player on that team. So, I'm interested in Christian Wood's personality, like just his dynamic. I mean, they're going to have to rely on him at some point. He's the third best player on that team.
Yeah. No, I mean it's gonna be interesting to say the least. Dude, I don't know what to feel about like this team. Like it's just such like that trio of like Christian Wood, Kyrie Irving, and Luca. Just like I mean, there's such a drop off with Christian. Like I think Christian Wood is a good offensive player. He's versatile, but like if Christian Wood's your third best player, I mean, like I don't know how far you can go in the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, so I will say this. Luca is so good that if you told me they made it back to the Western Finals again, I'd be like, okay, like I believe it, but I'd like to see it. But if you told me that they made it to the NBA Finals, like won the West, I would just be like, nah, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
So if they had a run like last year, I can see that, but I don't see them beating their opponent in the Western Conference Finals. There's just no way.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You want to get into, well, I guess the net side of it, and then, I mean, just start talking about the KD trade too?
Yeah, that's fine.
So, I mean, Nets, because of both trades, obviously Kyrie Irving demands a trade.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant gets traded. I mean, their team is just full of wing players. It
Yeah.
reminds me of like the Raptors almost, like just guys that,
Yeah.
6'7" around that height that,
Yeah. And
play defense,
like
whatnot. It's
credit to Sean Marks for, I think all things considered, he got some decent players. I mean, you're obviously missing that all-star caliber guy.
but just like how weird is this situation in terms of like it's like so like fluky, like just all the trades that have happened with the Nets. Like I was like saw a video recapping of like their roster, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, they get KD and Kyrie.
Mhm.
Well, first they're gonna rebuild, right? Like
Yeah.
that's what their goal is, right? They want to rebuild through the draft or whatever. Then they sign Kyrie and KD. They get Kyrie and KD. Then they get trade for James Harden. Get rid of all their
Yeah.
assets or whatever in that regard. Then they're like, no, 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 we're good with James Harden.
Yeah.
Get rid of him. We're bringing in Ben Simmons though. Like that's who we're bringing in now. Bringing in Ben
Yeah.
Simmons. They switch coaches like 3 times between Kenny Atkinson,
Jeez.
Steve Nash, Jock Vaughn. I think he was the interim coach like twice, right? Like it wasn't
Yeah.
even just once. Um, I mean, it's crazy. It's like a
Yeah.
soap opera. I don't
Well,
even know. Like there's a
and
new
remember in between Steve Nash and Jock Vaughn, they had a flirtation with what's the guy that coached the Celtics last year?
oh
Can't think of his name. Ime Udoka.
yeah, Ime Udoka. But
Yeah,
no, we're
remember
good.
they almost hired Ime Udoka, and then people got upset about it, and
And then they didn't.
rightfully so. And then they're like, "Oh, never mind," So just craziness.
Yeah. Um but like when you look, we'll talk about the Suns, but like when you look at these trades from the standpoint, obviously, they had to get rid of Kyrie. He was going to walk, right?
Yeah.
So you have to take that when you're evaluating these trades. What they get for KD, they get Cam Johnson, they get Mikal Bridges. I think it was 4 first-round picks, and then another random player too. I think. What are your thoughts
Jay
on
Crowder.
these? Well, didn't Jay Crowder move to another team? Like it was like
Yeah, he got rerouted to Milwaukee, but he was in the trade.
okay. It was like a 4-team deal though, because it started off as a straight up, and then didn't it? It was like a 3 or 4-team deal, wasn't it, or something?
I can't remember. I thought Jay Crowder was separate, but maybe they included it in later.
So it was a 4. It was 4-team deal. It was the one that the Pacers got
Oh, okay.
players. They got George Hill, Serge Ibaka, and then they released or waived Serge Ibaka, and then the Bucks got Jay Crowder. The Nets got more picks than I thought. They got 4 picks, 4 first round. Oh, 5 first rounds? 3. No, they got 5 first rounds and 2 second rounds. I thought it was 4.
I think one of them's a swap. I think the
Oh, one's a
2028
swap.
pick is a swap.
Okay. That makes sense. And then the Suns got Kevin Durant, TJ Warren.
Yeah.
What I was surprised that the Nets didn't make another move after this. I was looking,
Yeah.
maybe moving Royce O'Neal for a pick. I was hoping my Lakers would, pick him up. Maybe, Cam Johnson goes somewhere else or something. Because, I mean, you have like 7 guys that play the same position and can kind of do the same thing.
Well, if you're the Nets, why don't you trade for Jordan Clarkson? You know what I mean? I mean, where they are in the standings, like if you had Jordan Clarkson, Spencer Dinwiddie, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, and Dorian Finney-Smith,
And
and Nick
Claxton still
Claxton,
too.
like you're making the playoffs still.
Yeah, that's still a legit squad. Like,
Yeah, like
especially in the East now.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
I agree with
Like
you.
you're losing in the first round, but you're making the playoffs for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised. I mean, maybe the Jazz didn't want to budge, but yeah. But I mean, a guy like Jordan Clarkson who can kind of be the tip of the spear on offense. I wouldn't even call him a star or anything remotely like that, but he could be the tip of the spear for an offensive unit on a decent team. I'm with you though. The Nets should have made a trade. They don't have any of their picks for the next 5 years. And yeah, like they can't afford to be bad. I don't
Yeah.
think they should trade all those Phoenix picks, but they need to figure it out.
Yeah. Well, and like, how good are those Phoenix picks going to be? You know,
Yeah, not good.
like, I mean, I think best case scenario, because I don't think they're protected at all, but like, I
Correct.
think that they're like, you know, very end of, because I mean, when's the first one? It's like 2020.
3. It's this year.
Oh,
So
it's this
this
year.
year,
And then
yeah,
it's
23,
2025,
25,
27.
yeah, and
So, I
29.
mean, best case scenario, the ones down the line, like further
Yeah,
down the line, or what? Like very end of lottery, like
yeah.
towards, you know,
Well, I mean, you never know. Like Devin Booker could because Chris Paul and Kevin Durant will be gone by then. By that 27 pick, you have to think that Paul and Durant are done. And
yeah.
who knows what Devin Booker chooses to do at that point. So,
No, that's
I
true.
think that there could be some optimism in 27 and 29 that those become decent draft picks.
Yeah. But I mean, that's pretty far down the line. And
Yeah.
I mean, oh,
So,
we'll see, man.
yeah. What about Phoenix?
Yeah. So, I mean, I really like Mikal Bridges, man.
Yeah.
Obviously, you add Kevin Durant, which, you know, one of the greatest scorers of all time.
Yeah.
You lose Cam Johnson. Um, but I mean, to me, I get, you know, I think that it makes them better, obviously, and that you know, when everyone's healthy, 100%, they are contenders. But to me, it's like, is Chris Paul going to be healthy? He's been injured like all year. Is he going to be, you know, the same player when it comes to playoff
Yeah.
times? Because of recent, you know, he hasn't
Yeah.
performed to the same level, you know, the last
Yeah.
couple years,
Yeah.
you know,
And
that
and he's been injured every time it was important as well. Like,
and that's a significant thing.
yeah, like whether it's a hamstring or breaking his hand, or I mean, I think some people said he had COVID in the finals, that type of thing. Obviously, you can't control that, but you can't control any of it. But yeah, like more than just this year, Chris Paul has been hurt pretty much every important moment of his career for the last 5 years.
Yeah. And let me get your take on something too, because I kind of get this and whatnot. Like, because I was listening, you listen to the Ringer podcast, right?
The Ringer basketball show.
Yeah,
I do
the
want to kick
Ringer.
in. Yeah, I
Okay.
listen to the Bill Simmons podcast quite a bit.
Er, Okay. I don't know if it's a Ringer or another one. There's one with Raja Bell,
Uh-huh.
that they do. I can't remember if it's a Ringer or
I
whatever,
think
but
that is Ringer. Yeah.
it is Ringer. Okay. They were talking about the whole trade, and they were talking about how the Suns managed to keep DeAndre Ayton,
Yeah.
and that they thought that was kind of like a big thing, you know, defensively and whatnot.
Yep.
Which, like, I understand that, but like at the same time too, like, dude, DeAndre Ayton doesn't even want to be there.
I know.
Like, that's the whole chemistry thing. Like,
Yeah.
I get it. Like, I like the idea of him, but to be honest with you, I'm someone that of the standard of like, dude, honestly, I think he's an overrated player.
Yeah.
I think he's, in my opinion, an average center in the NBA. Like, if you listed off all the centers, I think he would be like around that 10 and 12 mark.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I get it. He's younger and stuff and whatnot. But I
Yeah.
mean, you look at that contract too, like,
Yeah. And I think stylistically he's a little limited. Like,
yeah,
I think he's definitely better than the 10th center in the league when it comes to talent. But in the modern NBA, it's like he's probably 10th in effectiveness, 10th to 12th.
yeah,
Because I agree with what you're saying. But guys like him and Jonas Valanciunas is another one where it's like they're kind of an older school, like gritty big man who, just kind of knocks people around, scores down low, gets rebounds, a solid defender, not anything more than that. But it's like that's such a limited style of play in today's NBA, because
yeah.
I mean, if it was 15 years ago, I think Valanciunas would also be better than he is in today's NBA
Dude,
on his
Rudy
talent.
Gobert would be an MVP candidate.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
No,
for
like
real.
legit.
Yeah.
But I mean, what I'm getting at is like the whole point of like, I mean, I don't even know where I was getting at. I totally lost my train of thought.
Well,
But
no, I mean you're talking about Aiton, and I agree. I was going to bring up that point. Is like,
the
what's
question marks.
yeah, what's the locker room dynamic with Aiton now, who is frustrated about his role, frustrated about the lack of respect that he was getting in his mind, and like how's that going to work with him now being the fourth best player on the team
Yeah.
and being completely overshadowed and all this stuff? Like he's not getting the ball more now. I can promise you that. Um, so yeah, dude, I'm with you. I think the Suns will look really good when everyone's playing,
Mm-hmm.
but it just to me has like an epic fail playoffs written all over it, like a classic Chris Paul playoff blowout, like burnout type of thing.
Yeah. And like, my initial thoughts were like, I know this might be crazy, but like Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, like those are two of your best like rotation defenders and stuff.
Yeah.
I do think that they do have guys that can kind of step up in that regard.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we've talked about it on the show before. I love Torrey Craig.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yeah,
he's
me
the
too.
same player, but he's someone that does have that defensive
Yeah.
versatility and stuff.
Yeah.
I think they have Josh Okogie too, right?
I think so.
Yeah. And then I mean, they have guys that can
Yeah.
kind of fill that role of like,
Yeah.
end of the rotation,
Yeah, they could really use a Jay Crowder type player. Right.
they should have, yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
what a fiasco. The Suns have been a fiasco this year. And
Yeah.
so I get that Durant is one of the 5 best players in the NBA, if not better. But is it really enough to salvage a fiasco? I don't know.
Well, and let me ask you something too. What do you think of the Chris Paul Kevin Durant dynamic? Because I feel like, I mean, something that's not really talked about is wherever Chris Paul goes, like there's kind of some,
Yeah.
guy is kind of hard to work with.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, so did you this is like more rumors talk and speculation talk, but did you see the stuff that came out today about Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant? Like when they asked Kyrie about Durant and I think there was like a report that came out later that it sounded as if Kyrie and Kevin Durant targeted the Suns to go there together
Oh,
because the Suns made a trade offer of Chris Paul for Kyrie Irving. And the Nets did not pull the trigger on that. So that's just so curious to me. Like everything involved in that is just interesting. And
huh.
I think there will be a lot more to talk about when it comes to the summer as well. I mean, back to Dallas is if Kyrie really wanted to go to Phoenix and LeBron is in LA and both of them, have the ability to get Kyrie. Very curious.
Kyrie's such a weirdo, man.
Yeah.
Like, did you see what he said too? Of like, oh, like he was talking. They were asking him about Brooklyn, and he's like, oh, like yeah, but we left them as the 4th seed. Like they should, they'll be fine. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, you and KD just left, so they won't be fine. What do you
Yeah.
mean? They're not going to just stay the 4th seed? What are you
Yeah.
talking about?
Yep.
But I thought that was hilarious. And then
Yep.
he said something about like, oh, I'm glad KD was able to get out of there or
Yeah.
whatever. Like what? He's so, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
off the court stuff is different, but just like his comments and like in interviews and whatnot, it's super
Yeah.
super interesting, I guess you could say. But
Yeah, but I don't know how the Chris Paul thing is gonna go.
I don't either. I mean, like, look, like, I mean, I'm in Southern California. The end of those like Clipper teams were awkward, and a lot of
Yeah.
it had to do with his relationship with DeAndre Jordan, his relationship with Blake Griffin. I
Yeah.
mean, Matt Barnes talks about it all the time on their shows about like how weird the locker room was, and it was one of the weirdest locker rooms he was ever involved in.
Yeah.
His relation, I mean, when he was on the Rockets,
Yeah.
it was just, I mean, I don't know how it's gonna, be.
Yeah.
I think people are too quick to say, "Oh my God, look at the names,"
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
mean, could
Yeah.
blow up.
Yep. Take it from someone who cheered for that Steve Nash Lakers team, right? I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, I'm with you. I think we're united on that. Like it's gonna look real pretty when it's good. I just think it's not gonna be good for very long.
God, you just gave me so many bad memories of that Steve Nash, Dwight Howard with half a back and
Yeah.
power. God,
Yep.
most random moment. You made me remember that we had Anton Jameson too. That was so random.
Yeah.
Woo!
Oh
Random.
man.
Oh man. Should
That
we?
that's one of the times that I've been right on that when the team came together and I was like, that's not gonna work. And everyone was like,
Oh
no,
yeah.
it's gonna work. And I'm like, no, it's not gonna work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like the coaching, like it
Yeah.
didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It was yeah.
Yep. Okay, what trade is next?
I was thinking. I mean, do you want to get into the trade that involved both our teams?
Let's do it.
So, um, it was a 3-team deal, right?
Yeah.
Um, the wait, hold on. I'm trying to find the exact details. I can't find it for some reason. Oh, here it is. So Lakers ended up getting D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt. The Wolves got Mike Conley, Nikhil Alexander Walker, pick swap with LA, and 2 second-round picks from Utah.
Yeah.
And then the Jazz got Russ, JTA, Damian Jones, and a first-round pick that was protected.
Yep. Okay, let's have you start off by telling us the Lakers' point of view on this.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense from a standpoint. I think anytime you took out, I mean, dude, honestly, like I had been watching on and off the Lakers, but I had really been watching the last like 4 or 5 games, and it's like the Russ situation had gotten worse. LeBron's night of breaking the career
Yep.
points kind of was shadowed over the fact that Russell Westbrook threw a tantrum when he was subbed out of the first half.
Yeah.
Um,
Davis looked kind of weird that night too, but
yeah, he's just a weird. I don't know. He's kind of a weird dude. Like I don't know.
I mean, maybe
I
he
didn't
was
read into it
reacting
that
to
much.
Westbrook though. Like maybe
That's what I.
yeah.
That's what I was kind of thinking too.
Yeah.
I think it was more of like I think it was he was over. He's kind of over the team not including LeBron versus and Russ was a major part of that. But I mean, I like the trade. I like the pickup of D'Angelo Russell. Someone that, I mean, elite ability in the pick and roll. I thought we were going to see it more this season. I don't know. Hopefully, it's something that they get going with Anthony Davis or even LeBron. But to me, the main thing is addition by subtraction via Russell Westbrook on the move.
Yep.
Because although he was averaging, these numbers that, a lot of Westbrook lovers, love to see, oh my God, I don't even know how many turnovers he averaged, at least like 4 a game.
Yeah.
You can tell that he was kind of playing to get his stats more than, trying to get wins.
Yeah.
And I think that there was definitely a weird vibe in the locker room as well. So I think that, the team is definitely better because of this.
Yeah.
And I mean, they added two solid role guys. I think Jared Vanderbilt's solid and, he brings something that they don't have, and a guy that, can kind of guard multiple positions, at least better than anyone they have on their roster. And Malik Beasley, solid shooter. I know he's kind of had a down year in terms of percentage and efficiency. But I mean, I think this was the best case scenario if you're the Lakers.
Beasley was streaky this year though, because he started off red hot for Utah. And there's been a slump over the last 2 months, but like I think just the fact that he was so red hot for part of this season would make me feel better if I was a Lakers fan. Because it hasn't just been like a consistent 32% from the field kind of guy. It was like he started off the season very hot and then, is just kind of down right now. But I mean, the Jazz have had problems of their own in terms of getting the offense to flow smooth. I think the offense is really pretty when it features Lowry Markkinen, but Jordan Clarkson does everything in his power to make that not happen on a nightly basis. Shooters get affected by that, when the flow of
Yeah.
the offense goes bad. So I'm with you though. I think the Lakers did a great job. I think only having to give up that one pick and even being able to protect it a little bit kind of made me nauseated as a Jazz fan. I was really disappointed by that, but
Yeah, I didn't want to shove it in your face too much, but
yeah, good for you, man. I mean, to be fair to the Jazz, like there wasn't any first round picks that moved today
mhm.
besides the Kevin Durant stuff. I,
But
I
there
guess
was
that
like
was last
4
night.
second round picks.
Oh yeah. So that kind of tells you how the market was. I mean,
Yeah.
clearly no one was trading a first round pick for Vanderbilt or Beasley, which
No.
was kind of what the Jazz were trying to get. Um, but it just wasn't happening this year. So I think being able to send Conley off and, get the pick that they did get. I mean, 2027, who knows where the Lakers will be?
Mhm.
That could be a very dark time for your Lakers in the post LeBron. I highly doubt AD is playing at a high level in 4 years.
He's probably retired.
I know. I mean, if he's playing, he's probably missing more games with injury than he's playing.
Hot take, I think LeBron is better than AD in 4 years still.
Probably is, to be honest. Dude, that guy's a machine. But from the Jazz perspective, like we're finally embracing the tank. Way too late. Thankfully, the season was like the standings were kind to them. They're only 4.5 games out of being the fifth worst team in the NBA. And Orlando got a win tonight, so I actually think it's 4. But Orlando has talent, dude. They have
Yeah.
Franz Wagner. They have what's rookie of the year? Paolo
Paolo.
Banchero. And
And Bol, man.
yeah. So like
They got some
Orlando,
legit
yeah.
pieces.
Orlando's like I think Orlando will catch the Jazz and end up with a better record than the Jazz. So I feel pretty comfortable that the Jazz will get to that 5 spot in the lottery.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, the thing that I want to tell you, obviously, you love Victor Wembanyama. You're all
Yeah.
about him.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you guys could get you talk about being in that 5 spot. I mean, you guys get lucky, get a top 3, 4, like
Yeah.
something around there. To me, there's 4 guys that could go like
Yeah.
if Victor Wembanyama or they weren't, in this draft class, like these are dudes that like last year before could go number 1.
Yeah.
So,
I'm developing a basketball crush on Brandon Miller.
oh really?
Yeah. So I think if I was in the 3 spot, I'd be really happy if to walk away with Brandon Miller. So
Yeah, Brandon Miller is legit. I mean, he, at his size, his scoring ability, I mean,
Yeah.
he's kind of getting overshadowed by Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah.
I saw some comparisons to Rockets rookie, what's his name, Jabari.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say is Jabari was a lot more catch and shoot in college, and I think that's
Yeah.
why he's struggling. He's had struggles in the NBA.
Yeah.
But Brandon Miller can create his own shot.
Dude,
like he does it off the dribble.
I see some Paul George in there, man. And
That's exactly who I. Yep.
Yeah. So the Paul George, that's the type of guy that wins in today's NBA. Like the Paul George model is like the archetype of the wing that you want on your team.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he's not one of the 10 best players in the NBA, but I think if, that's the skill set you want is you want a 6'10" wing who plays awesome defense, can create his own shot, and is a good shooter.
Yeah, but I mean, also too, Paul George is a hell of a player. I think he's had injuries and whatnot, but I mean, he's been in the MVP consideration. Like he's,
he has a first team All NBA appearance, and that is tough.
And people forget when he was on the Pacers and he was giving LeBron freaking everything he had, and they were close, man.
Yeah,
they were close.
Yep.
So,
So yeah, if I'm the Jazz, you're trying to get into that top three, Victor, Scoot Henderson, Brandon Miller. I mean, there's a few other guys that I'm sure I'm gonna make you tell me about in DMs, guys that I need to watch.
Yeah. Well, we'll have a show and we can talk about it.
Um,
Maybe next episode or something.
yeah,
Once we get closer to that time period.
yeah. But I mean, if you're the Jazz, I know every time I talk about this, it's not very well received. But like, it's so clear to me the Jazz are building for the next star that gets traded. It's probably going to be Luka. It just is. I mean, unless they can miraculously give Kyrie Irving 4 years, 200 million, which I don't know why you'd want to do that unless you had LeBron on your team. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just feeling confident right now. I'm kind of bummed at how the Jazz trade deadline went, but I am confident that the Jazz will be pretty good in 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, they have good young pieces. I mean, Walker Kessler, I'll eat my
guy.
crow on the fact that, he's looked good.
Yeah. Future Maverick, Walker Kessler, as I've been teasing my friends.
Future Maverick. No, and I mean, they still have some younger pieces as well. I mean, Laurie has been playing really well.
Yeah.
Very good complementary pieces for when, that star or, player comes in.
Victor Wembanyama. It's going to happen.
I'd love to see his, right when he lands in Utah, what he thinks of it or wherever he goes.
Yeah. He's represented by the same agent that Rudy Gobert has.
I mean, that makes sense, right?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, but I think that's a sneaky angle for Utah, though, is Gobert loved it here, didn't want to get traded, made a home here for himself. So I'm sure Wembanyama's agent would be like, that's not a bad place,
Yeah.
If that's your only high tier client is Rudy, and Utah's right there in the mix. I'm sure he wouldn't mind having Victor come here.
Well, I mean, if you're Victor Wembanyama, maybe the Pistons, because their roster, their young roster is kind of intriguing, but or the Spurs just because of historical reasoning, but I don't want to go to the Rockets. Fuck that.
Yeah, I don't either. But I also think it's one attractive selling point for the guys that I really want to end up on the Jazz is Lauri Markkanen being a European player.
Yeah.
It's I mean, even though France and Estonia and Slovenia are different countries. I mean, Finland, not Estonia. France, Finland, and Slovenia are different countries. From what I've been told by friends that are European is that, when they're in America and surrounded by Americans and there's a few other Europeans from different countries together, they gravitate towards each other because there's more cultural similarity, right? They have an easier time understanding each other when it comes to, social cues and stuff like that than they do Americans. So, I mean, it might be an attractive thing to be I'd be paired with a guy who grew up, I grew up playing him in the, national teams, 15 and under leagues and, just all that type of stuff. They'd have a common experience to go off of.
No, it's true. Should we get into some of these other trades now? Pretty quick. I mean, we've been talking for a while now. Went by quick.
Honestly, we could do these shows for 4 or 5 hours if we really wanted to, but
I know. Let's talk about some of the smaller ones. So Raptors add Jakob Poeltl. Obviously he was on the Raptors before, so kind of interesting. It was for Khem Birch and first round pick, 2 second round picks. I mean, I like the pickup anytime you have a big that can kind of do multiple things.
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised that the Raptors didn't move OG or I know I think there was some rumors of them trying to get Zach LaVine.
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised they didn't really make a move.
Yeah. I think them being buyers at the trade deadline and being one of the only teams to trade a first round pick major head scratcher. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard to know what's actually going on in the locker room,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't see that coming. I did not see them being one of the biggest buyers at the trade deadline. But it makes sense to get Jakob Poeltl, a player that they're familiar with. The conversations around the Raptors have long been like, can Pascal Siakam be a center long term? I think he's very effective as a center in specific lineups, but I think it's kind of asking a lot for him to do that on a nightly basis, right? And especially, like last 2 minutes of an important game to just kind of throw him out there and be like, you're the 5.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, Spurs going in tank mode, right?
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Next one was a 14 deal involving my Lakers. The Lakers traded Thomas Bryant to the Nuggets. They got Mo Bamba. I didn't know this was a 14 deal. I thought it was separate deals. But they got Mo Bamba, Davon Reed, my boy, the
Yep.
University of Miami.
That's right.
They got a second round pick. I don't know where that one came from. And then the Clippers got Bones Highland. Magic got Patrick Beverly, cash considerations from LA, and a 2024 pick from Denver. I'm guessing that might be, yeah, from Denver. I mean, kind of just some role players shifting.
Yep.
I like the Mo Bamba ad, though, for the Lakers, adding some youth and athleticism at the
Yep.
center position. I think he's a solid, serviceable backup center.
Absolutely.
Better than signing one of these veteran players at the minimum,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Although Dwight Howard did play a major part in their championship bubble run.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know a lot of Laker fans were upset about them trading Thomas Bryant. I get it. At the same time, he's missed a ton of games. He was only signed for the end of until this year, and it was like a $2 million deal. There was no way he was
Yeah.
going to be making that money again. There's
Yeah.
probably no way we were going to re-sign him. He was upset about his role.
Yeah.
So why keep him for what, like 20 something games or whatever's remaining?
Yeah.
And and you get second round draft picks out of it. I think they ended up getting, I thought it was 2 or 3 second round picks for him.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And Jared Vanderbilt is someone who, very versatile defender, maybe one of the least versatile players on offense in the NBA.
Yeah.
So he kind of has to play center on offense by virtue of just occupying the dunker spot, because he can't do anything else.
Like,
if
he's someone that can play next to AD though, right? Like because of those limitations.
Yeah, for sure. But I think as a defensive player, you can view him as a wing because he's very capable of that. But as a player on offense, you have to view him as occupying some of that Thomas Bryant role, playing center next to Anthony Davis. So it didn't surprise me that the Lakers, had an opportunity to move on, flip Bryant for some picks, because like Jared Vanderbilt might end up taking that role in the playoffs anyways as backup center, just because he's like he's just gonna be in the dunker
Better
spot
fit
on offense. Yeah, he just will.
Yeah.
Like he can't do
Doesn't
anything
mean
else.
better player, but better
Yeah.
fit.
Yeah.
And I mean, it makes sense. I don't know if you saw this, but there was a picture of him, and it was like the real reason why Thomas Bryant got traded. And it was a picture of him posting up as LeBron's taking his last shot to get the record for most career points. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. Honestly,
what did you think?
Wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah. What did you think? Because we're gonna get into some of these other deals. I think I should just kind of say them all. There's some that I think we don't really need to talk about.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Warriors ended up trading James Wiseman, getting Gary Payton again, and I think some picks as well. The Hawks got Sadiq Bey. I really liked that.
Yeah. Dude, I don't know why the Warriors didn't make that move for Sadiq.
I know I was kind of shocked because at first they had said they were interested in Sadiq.
Yeah.
I I don't really get that as well. When we were texting, I thought that they were getting John Collins because I thought
Yeah.
James Wiseman still has some value
Yeah.
and whatnot, and maybe they throw some picks in or whatever,
Yeah.
but and some other players, but yeah, I mean, I love Gary Payton coming back because I think he adds a dynamic that they, really need,
Yep.
defensively. And then I think too, like his ability, like it's so underrated a player's ability to cut. And he's someone that's very smart when it comes to scoring off ball.
Yeah.
So, and I think that was something that they valued a lot of times, especially specifically in Golden State, because you're going to get wide open lanes when you have two of the best shooters of all time.
Yeah. Yeah. I was hoping
Um,
that was the Kelly Olynyk deal was James Wiseman, but alas.
what else? Josh Richardson to the Pelicans. Thought that was interesting. That was one of those the 4 second rounders for him.
Yeah.
What else? This is the one I wanted to talk about. The Clippers trade. Obviously, they got Bones Highland, right? But
Yeah.
they end up trading John Wall and Luke Kennard for Eric Gordon, and I think they got some picks out of it. I get you want like a veteran.
Yeah.
I just didn't really understand this trade. I thought Luke Kennard was a better fit
Yeah.
than Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon's, I mean, how old is Eric Gordon now? Obviously started his career on the Clippers. He played for the
Yeah.
Clippers like 10 years ago.
I know. He was like on the Elton Brand Clippers.
Yes. He was on the Clippers before Blake
Yeah.
Griffin was on the Clippers
Yeah.
and
Back with
whatnot.
Corey Maggette.
Yeah. Dang, that was even longer than like 10 years ago,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yes.
Blake was drafted in like what, 09, the same year as Steph Curry or something?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. Eric Gordon before his knee injuries, man. He was actually like one of the young up and comers last time he was on the Clippers.
Yeah.
Let's see. How long ago would that have been? So 2010 was the year he was traded.
That makes sense because that's when they had Blake Griffin. He was starting to like emerge and
Yeah.
everything. Because
Jeez.
that's when they got. Is that how they got Chris Paul?
Yeah, he was the
Yeah.
centerpiece of the Chris Paul trade.
Yeah. Jeez. So
So that roster, sorry, I know this is kind of out of left field. So Eric Bledsoe, Baron Davis, Randy Foye, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, Chris Kaman, Jamario Moon,
Chris
and
Kaman.
Mo Williams.
Wow, those guards,
Yeah.
man. Those
Yeah.
guards.
I know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's
Hero
crazy.
ball Mo Williams.
Hero ball Mo Williams. But yeah, no, I thought it was just weird. I didn't
Yeah.
understand that trade. I mean, I like getting Bones Highland for like it was like 2 second-round picks.
Yeah.
I liked that dynamic offensive player. But I mean, who's playing point guard on this team?
I don't know.
Like they
Bones
I don't
Highland
think
isn't a point guard.
no, he's
I mean,
not.
yeah, he's as much of a point guard as any other chucker is, like Jordan Clarkson, you know.
I mean, I think the only is he even listed as a point guard? I mean, they
think
have
he
like
is because he's
Jason.
6'3".
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, because they have like Jason Preston. I know that guy from Ohio, but he doesn't. I mean, he doesn't play like a ton. I know Terrence Mann. Maybe that's what they're thinking, like starting him at the point guard. I don't
Yeah.
know. But I just thought it was a weird like roster construction move.
Yeah.
And to me, it kind of speaks to they're going to try to sign Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
I think it's going to happen.
Man, what a horrible move for a team that we were talking today. The Clippers' weakness over the years has been that they lacked somebody who could initiate on offense. Kind of slow the pace down, control possession, stuff like that. And I guess they're not going to have one again. But me and you kind of both agreed that they might be the favorite to come out of the West.
Oh, sorry. I
Maybe.
thought you froze for a second. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, does this change?
I mean, favorite might be a big word, but I mean, who else is going to come out of the West? Like the West teams are good, but all of them have major flaws. You know?
Yeah. So, I mean, to me, I mean, we're going to get into this. I mean, we can get into this now. I think we talked most of the trades, right? I
Yeah.
mean, what else? What else was there? The
So
Josh
we
Hart
didn't.
trade, and
Yeah, that was the
that's
only one
about
that I was
it.
going to bring up.
Yeah. I mean, I liked that. Josh Hart and
Yeah.
Brunson, college teammates, love it. The
Yep. So it was
reconnection.
4-team deal. Blazers got Cam Reddish, Matisse Thybulle, Ryan
Archie Diago, yeah.
Yeah, never heard of him.
Another Villanova player.
Yep, and a first round pick from the Knicks for this year. So yeah, and 76ers got Jalen McDaniels in that deal, which is
Yeah. I
good
like
for them.
yeah. I
I
like
like
that.
Yeah. But yeah, let's get into the standings. So let's just discuss how the trade deadline today will affect the shape that these standings take over the remaining 27 games of the year.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously you have Brooklyn at 5th. I would be surprised. I don't think they drop out of the play-in necessarily, but they're gonna drop, closer to that 9-10 spot. Let's see how many games ahead of Chicago. They are 7 games ahead of Chicago right now for the 9th seed.
Yeah.
I think they can stave that off. I'm not sure Chicago catches them.
Let me ask you, do you think that Miami falls off a little bit?
Oh, dude, I don't know how to feel about Miami. Like
Here's the thing.
Miami is like the best not good team of all time.
You know, we had a discussion about this because I had seen something on Twitter. We had gone back and forth about
Yeah.
it. And I think I can use the trade deadline as proof.
Yeah.
But their front office is not the same as it's been.
Yeah.
I think it's fallen off. I told you not that I would say they're like, I mean, I don't want to rank front offices right now. It's going to be a whole nother show.
Yeah.
But I mean, you look at their roster construction, Jimmy, Bam, Tyler Hero. I mean, a huge valley of, terribleness. And then Kyle Lowry. And I mean, they just like the reason why I get Heat fans were upset, but like the reason why a deal wasn't made was because there was no deal to be made.
Yeah.
No one wants Kyle Lowry. No one wants Duncan Robinson. Why do you want a shooter that can't shoot? Like
Yeah.
what?
And he has 4 years left on his deal.
It's 4 years. That's insane.
And he's getting paid $19 million a year. Like Duncan Robinson is one of perhaps the worst contract in the NBA right now.
Oh, absolutely. Dude's
Yeah.
getting paid $19 million to just do his podcast and chill.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that they've done a good job of taking guys that are undrafted or second round picks and turning them into like kind of role players. But I mean, if you're relying on them to be your like 4th, 5th player and to start games, like Caleb Martin or whatever, I like Caleb Martin, but like you are not going to be a contender. To me, you're barely a playoff team. I think that they end up falling off a bit in the second half because I mean, sorry, go ahead.
Well, what's the name of their backup point guard? Like Gabe something? Is that
Gabe
right?
Vincent.
Yeah, Gabe Vincent. I'm with you. I really like Gabe Vincent and
like
Caleb
Gabe
Martin
Vincent too.
Like the Heat have been awesome at that, but I'm 100% with you. Yeah, like the Heat have just been like not they've been terrible. Their front office has been terrible for the last 2 seasons. And I say that as someone who really respects Pat Riley. I think he's one of the all-time greats. I think his track record in Miami is just as about as good as you could possibly have. But the last 2 years, man, since they made the finals in the bubble, it's just been downhill. And Miami's a weird team because, like, I mean, you could go back and watch our shows during the Eastern Conference Finals last year, Miami versus Boston. And Miami's so weird in that I can watch them play and like watch them beat a good team in Boston, 3 out of 7 games, and still not think that they're any good after. Like they're clearly they are good, but they don't really pass the eye test or the sniff test, or they don't pass any tests for me. Even when they're good, I watch them and it's like, yeah, like essentially their game plan is to hang around until Jimmy Butler can be really good for the last 3 minutes. I don't really know what they're doing the rest of the game, though. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, too. Jimmy Butler is 33 years old.
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler has played a lot of minutes.
Yep.
He was on those teams on the Bulls with Coach Thibodeau.
Yep.
Which I think he was the coach of the T-Wolves when he was there, too, for that
correct
brief stint. He loves playing his starters a bunch of minutes and stuff. He's got some, miles on those on those legs. And I mean, how much longer do you have? To me, it's like, what trade is being had? But like, I mean, you got to kind of look like, I mean, are you going to win with a team of, Bam and Tyler Hero as your 2 best players? Like, to me, that's like a play-in team.
Yeah.
Like, depending on who you have like with them, it's like, why not try to make a move if you can, Kevin Durant or something in that, in that realm. But
I think the Heat really missed the boat. I know Miami Heat fans on Twitter got really, really mad at me for posting this on Twitter, and I don't blame them because of the success that Jimmy's had there, what he means to the team and the franchise, and kind of represents their post LeBron, post Dwayne Wade era. But how much better suited would the Heat have been if they offered Jimmy Butler for Donovan Mitchell in the offseason and just like we're ready to move on to the next era? I mean, that's probably a trade that the Jazz would have accepted. I mean, I think they did better than that anyways. But, if the Jazz didn't totally blow up and they, kept Conley and Gobert and, that general framework in place,
man, that would have been a scary team.
Yeah, a Jimmy Butler for Donovan Mitchell swap would have made a ton of sense for both of those teams. Yeah, and if you were the Heat, if you did that, like, how would you feel as a Heat fan right now as compared to, you'd be like, there's clearly a future here. Is that, we have 2 guys that are going to be all NBA level dudes, probably third team dudes, second team dudes. But we have them under contract for a long time. They're younger players in Miami. They're going to be here a while. They missed the boat on moving on from the Jimmy Butler era.
Yeah. To me, it was either Jimmy Butler or either Bam and Tyler. Like, you know what I mean? You got to make something happen because,
yeah.
But
their indecisiveness killed them. Is that they're trying to make a 33-year-old and a 25-year-old work together, and not that for any other reason than age and timeline. Like, it just doesn't work that well.
Yeah. But did you still want to look at the East or did you want to look at the West? What are you thinking?
Up to you, man. I'm good to do both really quick.
Yeah. So let me ask. Let's start with. I mean, who do you see kind of moving up after the trade deadline, and who do you see moving down? I mean, do you want to just go either conference and then we can talk about contenders?
Sure. So, well, let's just start in the East and let's talk about. Let's give 3 teams each that are going up.
Trending up, okay.
Yeah, and then 3 teams that are trending down. So let's start with down, and we'll just alternate. I mean, obviously Brooklyn. We kind of talked about them.
Yeah.
Um, and then who's your next for trending down?
I mean, I said Heat already,
Okay.
but I mean, yeah, I'll stick with Heat.
Okay. And then
What about you for trending up?
um
Or
I think Philadelphia is going to continue to trend up. And I
okay.
know that they didn't really make a major move today. They did the Jalen McDaniels trade, but I've just really liked how Philly's been playing lately. So, yeah, I think just solidifying their roster and getting it where they want to be. Um, and, the Celtics didn't do anything that impressed me. Um, and neither, I guess Milwaukee getting Jay Crowder. I don't know. Milwaukee's probably trending up too.
Yeah. I was gonna say Milwaukee, and this one, I mean, they made a move, but I mean, obviously it's not in correlation to that. But man, I think the Magic, man, we talked about them a little bit. I think
Yeah.
they're gonna move up a little bit. Um, I don't know if they'll try to sit people,
Yeah.
try to keep the tank alive, but to me, they just have too much young talent to be that close to the bottom.
I agree. I feel pretty confident as a Jazz fan that they're going to win a lot more games than we are down the
Yeah,
stretch. And for
absolutely.
every reason you said, like um if the Jazz and Magic played today, like Magic have two of the three best players on the floor. Easy.
Yeah,
So they're just gonna win games, dude. Mo Wagner's
yeah,
way good. Or is it Franz? Franz Wagner. They're both on the team. I think it's
yeah. They
Franz is
both
the better
are.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Franz
Yeah.
is the wing.
Yeah, Franz Wagner is amazing. Paolo Banchero. I like Jalen Suggs. Um, yeah,
And I think they like playing with each other too. Like that's the team. Like there's actual like chemistry and stuff, and that's huge.
yeah,
Like because that's confidence. That's a
yep,
team's able to play at a higher level.
yep.
But what about?
They're
Oh,
six and
sorry. Go
four
ahead.
in their last 10.
Yeah. So, what about you want to shift over to the West?
Yep.
So, I think we can both agree that we have the Suns moving up, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we can get that one out of the way. I'm gonna go. I mean, I'm gonna go with my Lakers. I
Okay.
just don't think. I mean, I don't know if they're gonna move up. I think they definitely move into the play-in.
Yeah.
I think they have an opportunity to kind of move to that around that 6th seed because I think
Yep.
the only thing that's crazy is though too. I think that the Warriors move up. Um, I don't know who like moves down.
Well, I'm thinking that same thing. So I've been watching a lot of Minnesota lately, and I
Mm-hmm.
think they're trending up as well. To be honest.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
so I think Portland drops out.
Yeah, that
I
was the one
think
I was gonna say.
Dude, I think the Pelicans and the Warriors are more likely to drop out than anyone else. I mean, I don't know. Like Minnesota has had worst case scenario this year so far. They've had Cat go down with major
Oh,
injury.
the thing I wasn't thinking of. How long is Steph out for?
Uh, they haven't given a timeline yet, but
But it's like 3 weeks,
it's
right?
ligament
They're
injuries.
thinking.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna say they stay in that play-in range then.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I can see a path to that. I completely forgot about the Steph injury.
Yep.
Um,
So I think the Grizzlies and the Pelicans end up in the play-in. Is that a hot take?
I mean the Grizzlies and the who?
The Grizzlies and the Pelicans are both in the 7 to 10 range. I think the
I
Grizzlies are on the way down.
Yeah, I mean the Pelicans have not been playing well. They kind of started
Yeah.
off
Pelicans
hot.
might drop out of the play-in, dude.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of like where I was thinking they're in that 10-11 range to be honest
Yeah.
with you. Um I I think that the Grizzlies I just don't know if they can drop that drastic. I think
Yeah.
that they drop to like I think that they drop to the like 4 or 5
Yeah.
range, maybe 6, and then I think LA moves up.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm thinking because like so I think Dallas and Sacramento probably stay static.
Yeah,
Like it wouldn't surprise me
around
if
that range.
yeah, like if their win percentage is about the same as what it is now. But
Yeah.
I think the Suns win percentage is going to go up. The Timberwolves win percentage is going to go up. So I think Sacramento probably gets pushed down a spot or two. Um, they get leapfrogged by Phoenix, maybe LA. The Clippers. The Clippers have been kind of turning it on lately.
Yeah.
Um, shoot, dude, we might have the Warriors fighting for a play-in spot.
Can we list it out real quick? So we're saying, let's say hypothetically, right? You writing
Yeah.
this down?
Yeah, I can write it down.
Okay, so we'll just keep Denver at the top, right? Just to keep
Okay.
them there.
Yep.
We'll have for the 2 slot. Do you want to move up? I mean, it doesn't. I mean, we don't even have to write down number slots, but like we'll just say Sacramento, Dallas, right? And then who
Yeah.
was the other team that we said would move up? The Timberwolves.
So Phoenix and
Oh,
Minnesota.
Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yeah, so have them clumped together in that range, and the Clippers too. I mean, that's already what?
So Sacramento,
6.
Phoenix, Minnesota, and LA Clippers. That's
Yeah.
5 teams.
And then are we thinking in the 6 slot? I mean, because you said even playing for the Grizzlies, right?
Well, I didn't list Dallas yet. So
Oh, Dallas too. Yeah, I would put
let's
Dallas
put
ahead.
Dallas at the 6. So Dallas at the 6. So
And
I
then
have Denver, Sacramento, Phoenix, Minnesota, Clippers, and Dallas as the top
Yeah.
6.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that would push Memphis next at 7.
Yeah.
Can they fall that far though? I don't know. I mean, I'm with you. I'm really like kind of down on Memphis right now.
I
But
think they end up in the 4 or 5. Like,
yeah,
I just think that like at the end of the season, it's going to be so close, and the difference between 3 and 6 is even going to be
yeah.
very. So, like, I mean, it's not far fetched to say. I don't think, you
Well,
know.
yeah, I mean, I think the Clippers are trending up and Memphis is trending down, but I don't
Yeah.
know if the Clippers pick up 4 games. The Clippers would have to pick up 4 games on Memphis to pass them. So maybe we're kind of overestimating the Clippers leapfrogging
Got
Memphis,
it.
even though I like
Okay.
the Clippers, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So let's put Memphis at the 5.
Okay.
Memphis at 5, Dallas at 6, and Clippers at 7. I don't know. That's weird. Dude, it's going to be a dogfight to avoid the play-in in the West.
Yeah. I think that the Lakers end up like right at the 8-9 slot.
Yeah, so we'll put Lakers at 8, Warriors at 9, just giving them the benefit of the doubt. And then who's your 10 seed? Probably Oklahoma
Didn't you say
City.
Wolves? What about Wolves?
I have the Wolves up at like 5-6 range.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I forgot
Yeah.
about that. And then yeah.
So I mean it's either Thunder or Portland. Or Pelicans.
Yeah, I was gonna
Pelicans
say
at 10.
Pelicans.
My bad.
Yeah.
Shoot. So that means the teams we have in the play-in are Clippers, Lakers, Warriors, Pelicans. That dude, that feels loaded.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Because like those 10 teams, like I think those 10 teams are for sure in the playoffs because who's the one team I would take out though that because like for sure Rockets, Spurs, I think even Thunder and Jazz are gonna be tanking.
Yeah. I don't know about the Thunder though. I think Thunder
Really?
might have a little bit of what Orlando has going in that like Shea and Jalen Williams, is that his name? Yeah, Jalen
Yeah.
Williams.
Well,
They're
which
two-
Jalen Williams? There's 2 different
Yeah,
Jalen
right.
Williams.
One of them. One of the
Yeah.
Jalen Williams and Josh Giddey. They're too good, man. Like
Yeah.
they're not going to be losing very many games. I mean, I
Their
don't think.
draft class was insane.
Yeah, like
I don't understand. We're talking about front offices. That's one of my top That's probably. I
yeah.
mean,
I think so. Here's my idea. Tell me if I'm crazy. So I think the team most likely out of our 10 to drop out is Golden State with injuries.
yeah. I think okay. If Steph is healthy, where would you have them then?
They're in. If Steph is healthy, I would call them pretty safe. I would have them above the Lakers. I mean, I still think they'd probably be in the play-in range, but I think they'd be
Yeah.
safe. The Pelicans, who knows, man? The Pelicans are kind of in free fall this right now, and they didn't do anything at the deadline to make me feel different.
Yeah.
Like Josh Richardson, like that's fine. But who's your point guard? Jose Alvarado? Like I like him, but he's kind of their only point guard, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
but then I think you have Portland and OKC. I think will be good enough to like not let Warriors, Lakers, Pelicans slip up at all.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting race
Yeah.
to the playoffs, man.
Yeah. Did you see the report that came out about the Wolves locker room stuff about D'Angelo Russell and Rudy Gobert today?
No, I didn't see that. What was
Apparently
that?
that's why they moved on from Russell, was that he like outwardly hated Gobert, would berate him in the locker room, would talk bad about him to teammates, you know, and like it was Minnesota media members that were saying like when we would come in for post-game interviews, we could hear Russell going off on Gobert. And it was like uncomfortable for everyone, and you know, kind of just
What
something that
like about his play and stuff, or
just hated playing with him for whatever reason.
wow.
Yeah,
I mean, that would make sense why he's not excelling, scoring off of him, playing with him.
yeah,
I mean,
and I think it makes sense that they went out and got Mike Conley, right? Like Conley and Gobert were the engine for the number one offense in the league last year.
yeah,
So, and with Karl Anthony Towns going down, Taurean Prince missed a ton of time. Jordan McLaughlin has missed a ton of time. Like the Timberwolves can't get worse, you know. And to consider that they're in, you know, they're one game out of fourth place with how horrible their season's gone. Like they're going to be fine.
no, I think so too. That's interesting to hear, though. I didn't hear that. That's
Yeah,
wow.
I'll send you the screenshot.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that. Huh. Makes a lot of sense though of like why they weren't performing
Yeah.
to the expectation that we were expecting, you know?
Yeah. Isn't that kind of funny though? Like it's probably because they made such a big trade, but
Mhm.
everyone has been so bullish on, you know, just like the Pelicans and you know how the Clippers are playing lately and Dallas and stuff. And there's literally a one game difference between Minnesota and those teams.
It's crazy.
And you know, and everyone's like Minnesota's, you know, just a dumpster fire and they're one game out of fourth. So
Jeez.
we'll see, man.
Yeah, we got to see, man.
So are we in agreement then that it's Portland and OKC on the outside?
Yeah. Yeah. Because, I mean, even, man, Portland, I know they got Cam Reddish
Mm-hmm.
and Matisse Thybulle, right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, honest, like
They
this,
lost Josh Hart, though.
I know, I love Josh Hart, too.
Me too.
One of the best rebounding guards in, like, I don't know how long during the league.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, Cam Reddish has had some games this season where he's went off, but he's kind of played sporadically, right? kind of in and out of the rotation.
Yeah.
I just don't know how I feel about him, you know. I mean, I like Matisse Thybulle. I like what he does on defense, but I mean, he's obviously very limited on offense. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's Josh Hart did both things, right? Like he could score and, you know, great defender, gets
Yeah.
boards. I liked him next to Dame. So,
Are you surprised that Portland didn't field calls on Damian Lillard?
Yes,
Yeah.
I am. Yes and no, I guess, because I mean, like looking across the league, like who realistically would you see like pulling the trigger and making a trade for him and then
Yeah.
getting a good offer? I
Well,
just don't really think there was a trade out there.
Miami is the first team that comes to mind, but they don't have enough draft picks to offset the bad
No.
contracts they'd have to send back.
Yeah. And I mean, like,
let me look.
so they give up what, Tyler Hero and Bam? Or
No,
like,
I mean you can't give up Bam if you're them, you know?
I mean, so like what you get, I mean, you get Kyle Lowry and
Yeah.
Tyler Hero. Like to me, that's not really an appealing.
Yeah. If you're Denver, would you trade Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr.?
Yes.
I would too.
Yes.
And a whole bunch of picks.
Easily.
And if
Yeah.
I'm Portland, I think about that.
Oh, if you're Portland, you have to do that.
Yeah. Denver should have done it, man.
Yeah.
That makes way too much sense.
I know.
Who else?
I would have loved to see that.
Dude, what about Milwaukee? If you're Milwaukee, are you just like, yeah, Drew Holiday and all the picks that we have and some other stuff? I mean, does that move the needle if you're Portland?
If I'm Portland, I think I would take Jamal Murray and
yeah,
and Michael Porter, to be honest with you.
I'm with you.
Yeah. And I like that too for the Nuggets just because they already have a abundance of role players.
Yeah.
I mean now too, who did they get? They got Thomas Bryant obviously, but then they get who was the other one?
Let's see.
Did they get Plumlee or did the Clippers get Plumlee? No, the Clippers got Plumlee, Mason Plumlee or whatever from the Hornets. Who else did they get? I thought they got someone else.
Huh. They got Jay Crowder. Wait, no, sorry.
The Nuggets, right?
Nuggets, my bad. Sorry. I don't know why I thought Bucks. I'm trying to scroll through this page real quick and find Thomas Bryant. I think that's it.
Okay. But I mean, anyways, you look at their roster, right? I mean, if they would have made that deal, they still would have had KCP, who I like.
Yeah.
They would have had Bruce Brown, who does like everything on the court.
Yeah.
Good defender. Same with KCP, good defender.
Yeah.
You get that pairing with Jokic. They have some good young players. I mean, they have Jeff Green. They still have Aaron Gordon. Like, I mean,
yep.
That might be that would be scary.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is the team, man.
Yeah.
There was one other. So I'd get killed for this, for even saying it, but I can't help but think that, let's say Memphis calls them and is like, we'll give you Ja Morant, but you give us Damian Lillard and draft picks. I have a hard time not thinking that Memphis doesn't have a higher chance of winning a title with this team.
With Dame Lillard instead of Ja.
Yeah. I mean, no team would ever do that. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. Like, no front office would ever do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. The Grizzlies are a really good team, and while I like Ja Morant, I'm not sure he elevates how good they are. They're just fine without him.
Yeah.
And I mean, it kind of happens when you can't shoot. Like everyone can shoot but Ja on that team.
I think it's a little, I'm hesitant to say one way or the other
Yeah.
because I think it's kind of like you have to see how they would be like a full season without Ja.
Yeah.
Like, because I mean, they get in some runs. They have the ability to like they have a lot of guys that
Yeah.
can stretch the floor, a lot of guys that can guard multiple positions.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, you get to playoff basketball. I know they've won games without him.
Yeah.
Like long term, like if they didn't have him, like they'd be a team that just gets bounced in the first round every year, or you know what I mean?
I mean, they probably would if they just eliminated Ja off the roster, but
Yeah,
I think like if you're I don't know. I would rather play a Ja Morant and Desmond Bain backcourt than a Damian Lillard and Desmond Bain backcourt.
yeah, yeah. I think so too. It's Dude, Dame
Because
is one of my favorite players too.
I know
That's the thing.
I'm a
Like
big fan of Dame.
I wanted him on the Lakers so bad, but
Yeah.
um I I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Um I think that I do think they would be better with Dame.
Yeah.
But I
But
do think I
no team would agree to that. Memphis would
yeah,
say no 100 times out of 100, but I think their chances of winning a title would go up, which maybe a better front office would say yes, you know? But I mean, I don't know. Manage shorten your window.
yeah. Dang.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. I wish the Lakers would have made another trade. I was waiting like
Do you-
30, 40 minutes after.
So this is the very last thing I want to talk about, if that's okay.
Okay.
Um, so let's talk about Kyrie Irving and free agency this summer.
Okay.
Dallas did not extend Kyrie. Last time I looked at the Lakers books, they're going to be able to create, I think, about $35 million, give or take, in
Yeah.
space. And seems kind of like a slam dunk to me that if things don't go fantastic in Dallas, that Kyrie's at least going to listen. Getting a 4-year deal at $140 million, it's a lot of money. I think the Lakers are going to be desperate to say yes to that. Whereas, I think Lakers will be more willing to give Kyrie years and money than Dallas will.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I say Dallas, but I mean anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Lakers are in a position with LeBron where they kind of have to give Kyrie whatever they can. Whereas I think any other team would be a little more cautious because of Kyrie's history and his behavior and his antics.
Yeah. Well, and I think the front office too, Rob Pelinka did a good job of trading for contracts. I know that Mo Bamba's contract because he's
Yeah.
signed throughout 2024 isn't guaranteed.
Yeah.
Davon Reed, my guy, his isn't guaranteed either. It's a non-guaranteed contract. Who else? There's another. Basically, it's LeBron signed through. It's AD, and then I think it's Max Christie, their rookie, that have guaranteed contracts that they have to pay. So they have cap space.
Yeah, and I watched a lot of Jazz. I watched a lot of Timberwolves this year. I think if the Lakers weren't paying close attention to that, they would have preferred Mike Conley over D'Angelo Russell this year. I think Russell's a better player in a vacuum, but I think Conley's a better role player. I think the Lakers would be better with Mike Conley playing point guard than Russell this year, but Conley is partially guaranteed for next season.
That's what I was going to say. He has 2 years, right?
Yep.
So, and D'Lo's a free agent. I just looked to Vanderbilt has it's a $4 million deal.
Yeah.
So I think one of the pieces they moved, though, the Lakers might have been signed throughout next year, though, so it might kind
Okay.
of,
Yeah.
I know it eliminated a lot of money off the luxury tax for them this season.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
So let's say you
I'd
guys
love to
get
see it.
Kyrie Irving. What are the odds that Anthony Davis gets traded after the Kyrie Irving signing?
So like LeBron and Kyrie are on the.
And then you trade Anthony Davis to kind of fill out, like, you know what I'm saying, like kind of trade him, kind of like a Durant trade, where if you could get a guy like Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson back for AD.
Oh man.
And I'm not saying that specifically with Brooklyn, but I just mean, kind of
Yeah. No, I
taking
get what
back,
you're saying.
multiple high level role players in exchange for Anthony Davis.
Yeah. I honestly, to me, it's almost like 50-50
Yeah.
that happens just because of the amount of injuries dealt with. I mean, he's what, like 28 years old?
Yeah.
Around that age. And the amount of injuries, the sheer number every season that, we've seen that fans have to deal with. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's hard to kind of guess what this front office would do.
Right. And I don't know who the team would be, I mean, what if
I don't know
Memphis
I don't know what kind of players they'd want to surround, because I don't know what LeBron looks like. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, what is, you know what I mean? Like, is he going to move more to the 4, play bigger? Like, in that regard, like,
what if Memphis calls you and they're like, we will give you Dylan Brooks, Jaren Jackson Jr., and what's the young wing they have? Xavier.
not Desmond Bain.
No, Zaire Williams is who I'm thinking. So yeah, what if they call you and they're like, we'll give you Zaire Williams, we'll give you Dylan Brooks, and we'll give you a Triple J for Anthony Davis?
No.
Not taking it.
I wouldn't.
I'd
have to look up a deal. I'd have to look at a deal. I think Jaren Jackson Jr. is a good player. I think he's a little bit. His stats are a little inflated. I don't like Dylan Brooks at all.
I just thought of one.
Okay, who?
Karl Anthony Towns.
Ooh.
Who says no first? Out of Minnesota.
I like that just because of Karl Anthony Towns' versatility. I think he's a good big that a perfect fit to play next to LeBron.
Yeah.
With Kyrie in there too in the fold, I don't know how that would look, but I would consider that, but I'd need more compensation because I still think I think Karl Anthony Towns is good, but I think he's not anywhere near the level of when AD is healthy,
Dude, I can't tell you how excited I am this summer to do a whole bunch of Karl Anthony Towns trades. One of them, let's say the Clippers postseason doesn't go as planned, and they kind of just decide that Kawhi Leonard's hurt way too much. Who says no first between a Kawhi Leonard and Karl Anthony Towns trade?
How old is Kawhi Leonard?
Let me check. He's old though. I think he's.
And you're saying players in addition to Karl Anthony Towns are added, right? It's not like a.
I don't know. I mean, if I'm Minnesota, I'm like, oh, so Kawhi is 31. He'll be 32 by the end of this year.
Shit, he's younger than I thought.
He'll be 32 by the end of this season.
I feel because of all the load management, though, he's really 28.
Yeah, no, but his thigh is jacked up. He's still only playing one out of every 3 games.
It's such a weird. To me, it's trade value diminishes when you have to deal with all this weirdness, in terms of Kyrie, in terms of you know what I mean.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you're the Clippers, how much of you, because clearly Kawhi Leonard's better, but how much of you is just like, I'd kind of just rather have Karl Anthony Towns play 77 games for me next year than get 40 games of Kawhi.
I want to go into ESPN Trade Machine. I just had an idea,
Okay.
but I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I think I always forget that Minnesota's in the West. I don't know why. I think they're in the East.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was the Clippers that got Plumlee. Sorry, but Cat's making like what, 34 mil?
He just signed a super max.
Oh, okay. So the year after he's going to be making like 40 something, right?
Yeah. Yep. He got the
So
big
the
one.
money works up straight out. What if Zubac gets thrown in there? Need another center, right? Trying
Well,
to
they
add
have
some more.
Gobert. They have Gobert.
Oh yeah, that's true. I mean, straight up,
Yeah.
that would be interesting.
Yeah.
I would really like that Minnesota team.
Yeah.
That would be really.
I know, dude. That'd be mean.
I would not want to play that Minnesota team. Shit.
Yeah. Well, what about this? Does this work? I think it does work. It does. Okay, so who says no first? Yeah. Okay, John Collins and DeJounte Murray for Karl Anthony Towns.
I think that the Hawks need something else, or the Hawks need something else in addition.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they'd punt on Murray after 1 year, but like they were trying to dump John Collins.
Yeah, they've been trying to. I don't understand that.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, in terms of like him, for me, it's all about his role is always going to be limited playing with Trae Young.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I don't understand how you can expect him to improve, to the level that they're expecting when, you're playing next to a guy like that. Like,
but dude, how good would those front court and back court pairings be though, with DeJounte and Anthony Edwards in the back court and then John Collins and Rudy in your front court?
That would be filthy.
And then you like the middle of that lineup, you just plug it with you have Kyle Anderson and Taurean Prince under contract. Easy. And Jaden McDaniels.
Jeez.
Yeah. That's good teams.
Yeah. To say the least, man. Damn.
Yeah. So I don't know, dude. I'm interested to see what Atlanta does though. We're with Murray and Trae Young. I'm not sure it's gonna work.
Yeah. I'm interested in seeing that too.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, how long does Murray have on his deal?
2 years. Well, I think 1 year after this, and he's at 16.5 this year. So, I wonder, did he sign an extension though?
I don't really remember, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up. I think he's still. Yeah, no, he's on the hook for 17.7 next year, and then he's a free agent. Interesting. Well, maybe Atlanta would just be like, well, we don't want to pay him $40 million a year.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I like DeJounte Murray as a player and his ability, like, two ways, but I don't know if he's a, $40 million.
I agree with you, but if you're Minnesota, like, you have nothing to lose.
Oh, I agree with that.
If you're like trading Towns for Collins and Murray, I'd be like, yeah, we'll pay you whatever you want because then they can just extend Anthony Edwards with their bird rights stuff. So yeah, I mean your cap is already screwed with Anthony Edwards getting a max extension as soon as he can, and Gobert getting $200 million. Towns having a super max, like that wouldn't be a bad. I could definitely talk myself into that for both teams. Trae Young and Karl Anthony Towns would be pretty intense. Yeah.
Damn, man. Trade deadline just happened, and we're already talking about the next one.
I know, dude. I love it. It's the best time of the year.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, should we call it a night?
Yeah, I'm like falling asleep. I'm not gonna lie.
No, same, man. I know. I get excited about this, but I'm way tired.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. You're gonna see us every week from now on, every Thursday night. So until next time, I'm Jordan. Got Matty Ice over there, and we'll catch you next time, guys.
Have a good night.